Joining me now is Russell Bradford, Managing Director at Aston Minerals. Great to see you, sir.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
So you've only been in the job along with your team for about 6 weeks now, and you describe it as bringing the band back together. So you guys have had success, the guys and gals, I'm sure, success with Lion Ore, $7 billion takeout there, with Mantra Resources, Asenco Gold. So here you are with Aston Minerals. This opportunity was presented to you. How does Aston sort of tick all the boxes?
Well, I suppose when we looked at Aston, and you look at any project, it's kind of, what is there? What's been done so far? And if you look at Aston, there's a maiden resource, so there's a good foundation. It's a big resource, so we've got something that we can get our teeth into. The big tick in the box for me was getting the band back together, the team. It's a great team. You know, we've worked together for over 20 years under Peter's leadership, Peter Breeze, on a number of projects that we've started off from, like pretty much where we are with Aston now. So, when that happened and the guys all committed to coming on board, that was great. I think that's a big tick in the box. I think, projects we've done around the world, particularly in, remote areas and places that we've operated, understanding the local environment, the Indigenous affairs and the community and we looked at that, and I think Aston's got a great foundation and a great relationship. I was on site just last week, met up with Tim and Stan, and they announced just the week before that they've endorsed the project. They're working with Aston, we're working with the local communities.
Right, I saw that news release.
That's right, yeah. So that's a big tick in the box, right? Because you can have a great project and you just won't be allowed to do much for various reasons. So I think that's a good foundation. It's in Canada, so Canada with their critical minerals policy, that's a good, let's say, a position now in the world and global affairs and all the things that go with that. And then it's nickel, and we kind of all learnt our stripes in nickel. We were in Lion Ore for a long time. We learnt a lot about building mines, about operating mines, and what's needed to get all those planets aligned. So you put all those things into the box, and then you say, well, there's not much that, let's give it a go. So that's really why we all came on board and we're here today. So
right now, you said you're seriously into project development now. You want to bring this project to the next level, and ultimately, in fairly short order, you want to get a document out to the markets that proves out the economics of the project. So can you sort of take us through the game plan of what needs to be done before then?
Okay, so we spent time on site. You can't beat FaceTime with people, right? We've been running businesses on Zoom and Teams the last couple of years, and when you sit down with people and you look at the screen and you draw pictures and you just realize I think we've missed a lot of that in the last couple of years. Anyway, we went to site, myself and Peter. We sat with Carl and with Dale and with Matt, and we went through the geology. We went through all the drilling that's been done. We went through the blue sky. And we went through what this ore body is made up of. And there's a few steps that we want to do over the next, 9 months to get us to a position. And essentially what we're going to do is create a signature for this ore body. We need to understand, the sulfur-nickel ratios. We need to understand the mineralogy. We need to do some more drilling. And we've got a blank piece of paper at the moment. Really, we know that it's going to be flotation because it's a sulfide ore body. But we need to put a flow sheet together. Once we've done all of that, we'll be able to drop a pit, we'll be able to do some economics, and we'll be able to kind of look at this thing and say, that's what this mine could look like. That will form the basis then for a proper scoping study. Remember, we're JORC compliant, so we need to have a lot of, the measured and indicated required to put an official document together. But we can do all this pre-work prior to actually going officially into a scoping study. It'll give us a lot of information that will set us up right for putting a proper document together, which eventually will be published through the ASX.
Right.
So, yeah.
And Russell, something that you can do in the meantime that you've talked about is have discussions with automakers, with battery makers. And I'm just wondering, is that a matter of whoever comes out of the gate first, it's first come, first serve, or you need to find the right partner?
I guess there's two parts to that question. The first thing is, if someone came and knocked on our door today and said, "Hey, we'd love to get all your nickel, and we're going to make all these batteries out of it," and I would be saying, "Well, that's great. But give us some time. We just need to get all the work I've just described. Let us get our head around that first." In terms of partnerships, I think a project this size and this nature and its strategic positioning in the Canadian critical minerals policy, it's got a time and place, right? And I think we will form relationships with, I don't know, maybe tier one mining companies who are looking for nickel. You've seen Canada Nickel with their relationship with Anglo American. That's a great tick in the box for this type of project. I'm sure there'll be other, big mining companies and OEMs looking for nickel, and we'll have discussions and we'll have to form a view on where we want to go. But to go for the first guy who knocks on the door, I don't know if that's probably the right thing to do, right?
Right, yeah, it's a process, obviously.
It's a process, yeah.
And so you've talked about, okay, ultimately we're going to have all this concentrate. What do we do with it? Nearby in Sudbury, I guess 250 kilometers away, you've got a Glencore smelter, a Vale smelter. Is it just logical that it would wind up there, or are there other options?
Well, it's funny you talk about smelters, because for my sins I ran one of the largest nickel smelters in the world. So I can't understand how they work, and I understand offtake, and I understand what smelters want to do with certain types of concentrates. There's blending strategies and all sorts of things. A mine potentially that we've got here, could some go to a smelter? Yes, it could. It could all go to the smelter if there's enough space in the smelter. But I think this type of project is a project where you would get the nickel into a concentrate form, and then I think there's a strategic decision and understand, well, what do we do with this nickel? Where does it go? And you go back to your OEMs, you go back to, I'm not talking out of turn here, but what does Canada want to do with this nickel? It's a big potential nickel mine here. So yeah, the smelter would be that you could clip a coupon, get your net back and carry on with life, or you could actually take this to the next level and look at what's all going on in North America at the moment, and I think we need to open that door and explore that.
You've also been quite open, Russell, about saying around September time, like let's say, you'll be ready to approach the Canadian government, and you touched on it there. What do you want to do with this big strategic nickel asset? And so do you have any ideas as to how that conversation may go, or how you'd like to see it go, or is it just too early to speculate on that?
It's very early. I think more out of courtesy. Tomorrow I'm going to see a government agency here in town who operate in Timmins area, and it's really just, and then the question is, that's great, we've heard there's a new team on board, I'm coming to introduce myself, give them kind of a high level view on where we'll be going and what we'll be doing. I know the Canadian government have great opportunity and facilitation when it comes to global affairs, InvestCan, those type of agencies in government. So there'll be certainly a time and place, and it'll be this year, it'll be the back end of this year, that I'd like to arrange to go and speak to people, introduce the project, tell them where we are with our program, and probably put some formalized regular communication update to them, and then we'll see where it goes from there.
Right, okay, fair enough. Now, north of the nickel deposit, you've got a couple of gold projects. Are those now non-core? Are you going to consider alternatives, or I guess that's not a process you have to figure out?
Yeah, look, we've just recently done some drilling up there. We're waiting for the numbers to come back. At the moment now, the project focus is all on the nickel. That's really what we're looking at and planning at the moment, and there'll be a drilling program for the nickel coming up shortly. The gold, I think, let's see what these numbers come back like, and then we'll have to make a decision on that. So it's in the right address. There's lots of gold mines, as you know, big gold mines in that area. We've found gold on the property. It is separate from the nickel, so there is an opportunity to potentially carve that out or partnership with somebody. So, But at the moment, I think we've done the work this year on the gold. We'll focus now on the nickel, and let's see where that takes us.
And then lastly, you've said that in terms of the investment case for Aston Minerals, it comes down to three things. The team, as you said, success before, bringing the band back together. The commodity, nickel, critical minerals, big. And then place, the jurisdiction, Ontario, Canada. So if somebody were to approach you and say, give me your 30 to 45 second pitch on Aston Minerals, take us through those three things.
Well, I think, there's a trust element here with the team, right? And we can only go on our past experience. So it's important that prior investors in this team and then people who would like to understand that, here's our track record, that's what we've done. We've learnt a lot, and it's been under the guidance of Peter, and Peter's our chairman now, so I don't think that's going to stop too soon. We'll always be there for us. So I think the second thing is where we're operating. We've spoken about our First Nation Indigenous affairs. I think that's a great foundation to do any project, and we'll continue to build on that. And it's just nickel, right? And I think it's a commodity that, with all the global things that are going on in the world, we know what's happening in Russia, China, Indonesia. Well, we've got Canadian nickel here, and I think there's a place for it, and we'll be down that journey, and let's see where it takes us. So,
well, great meeting you and getting an update on the company. You did so well, only having been on the job for 6 weeks, and we'll talk again.
Thank you very much.
Okay,
thank you.
Thanks, Russell. Great stuff. Russell Bradford, Managing Director at Aston Minerals.